Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I thought today would be a great day to really look at all of the contenders heading into the NFL season before we actually get it launched in the next couple weeks. How I plan on doing this is breaking out all the teams I plan on including in this video and putting them into different tier systems. The highest tier will be tier 1, the lowest tier will be tier 4. We'll start the video off with tier 4, and that's really what we're going to get into today. The criteria for Tier 4 are teams that will make the playoffs, in my opinion, but they have clear flaws, and it's just too much for me to actually bank on them making, a real Super Bowl run. Again, they can make the playoffs, and I think that they will, but do I actually think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender? No, so that's why they'll be in Tier 4. The first team I'm going to be having in Tier 4 are the Dallas Cowboys. I think Dallas has a lot to be positive about heading into the 2026 season. They're building off a solid year last year. Again, it didn't start the best, but the end of the year actually got a lot better. They improved their defense throughout the year by making that trade for Quinnen Williams, and the offense was clicking all season. Yes, Lamb was banged up, but the rapport that Pickens had with Dak was just very, very impressive, and it's just another year under Schottenheimer as well, and I expect Dallas to take that next leap this season. And the defense is only going to get better. Again, another year that Quinnen Williams is in the system, and they made a massive hire at the defensive coordinator position that I love. They got Christian Parker from my Philadelphia Eagles. He's now going to be their DC. He's studied under Vic Fangio the last couple years. Everything I heard about him was that he was a phenomenal, coach for what he did with the Eagles. He was their secondary coach, and I expect him to bring that intelligence and really just his football knowledge to the Dallas Cowboys, because everything I was hearing was that this guy was supposed to be the guy if Vic Fangio was supposed to retire. Of course, he ends up staying a few more years, so I thought it was a huge get for Dallas, especially a guy that was just in their division. They also get Caleb Downs in the draft. Again, adding to their secondary. Again, a strength that I expect to be for their team now with Parker, coaching up this defense. Again, a lot of positive moves. Not a lot to hate on for this Dallas team, I'm going to be honest. What keeps me away from having Dallas as, a tier 2, tier 3 team, in my opinion, is really just that a lot of these things are assumptions. I'm assuming that Christian Parker is going to be a good defensive coordinator. I have, all the knowledge and information that shows me that he should be a good defensive coordinator, but we actually have to see it. And again, as much as I do like the moves that they made in the offseason, and again, by getting Williams last year and building on that defense, I still need to see them actually play at that level, because again, they showed some signs at the end of last year, but at times it was really, really ugly. And, expecting that big of a turnaround, it can happen in the NFL, but it probably won't realistically. So I have Dallas being a playoff team. I think that they're going to make the playoffs. I think that offense is going to be humming. It's just really, can the defense elevate to where we think they can go? I just don't know if that's going to happen this year, but I really do think that this team is on the right trajectory. Next, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. This feels like a make or break year for the Cincinnati Bengals, especially for Joe Burrow as well. I mean, this guy's got to stay healthy. I don't have to talk too much about this offense. We all know how good, again, Burrow is when he's healthy. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, that combination, Chase Brown in the backfield. But really what makes me put Cincinnati in this tier is the fact that they elevated their defense in the offseason. You go out and get Dexter Lawrence with a first-round pick in the draft. You trade that to the New York Giants to acquire him. That instantly gets your defensive line to be at a better place than they were last season. And they also made a few free agency signings as well. Again, they got Mafe, I always mess up his name, from Seattle, the defensive end. And they also signed a safety as well. They made a few additions, again, added a few guys as well in the draft class for their secondary. And again, they're adding to this unit. Now, does this mean that I think that this defensive unit is going to be elite by any means for the Bengals? No. But I think if this unit can be even average and this offense can be where we think it can go as long as Burrow stays healthy, there's no reason why this team shouldn't at least be in the playoffs. Again, I don't know if they're going to win the division, but with this type of talent, I 100% would have them over like a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is just, again, when it looks into the division. So that's where I have Cincy. Again, I am expecting a bounce-back season as long as, injuries allow it. But there's no reason why I shouldn't be feeling bad about Cincy, I guess, in this season. Yes, there's a lot of pressure, but you added to that defense, and that was by far the weakest link for what was going on with this team, really the last couple seasons. So, again, if Burrow can stay healthy and he can get the ball to, Chase, Higgins, Brown, and the defense takes that next step, I don't see why this team can't be a playoff team. Next in Tier 4 are the Buffalo Bills, a.k.a. Josh Allen, James Cook, and friends. Okay, I'm kidding, but am I really, really kidding? For real, though, I expect the Bills to be a solid team. They trade for DJ Moore, which, again, makes them have a better receiving group, which they needed to do because My God, when you look at this team last year, I mean, Shakir cannot be your wide receiver one. I know they drafted Coleman to develop into the guy that they wanted him to be, but that's just not been the case. So they had to go out and make that move and get the veteran. And they didn't even pay that hefty of a price for him when you look at it from a trade perspective. So I don't hate the move for the Bills. Offensively, there should be some continuity with this team as they retain Joe Brady on the staff, though this time he's now going to be the head coach instead of the offensive coordinator. So I expect more of the same from this offense, maybe a few new wrinkles here and there now that more has been added, but it's really going to be Josh Allen and James Cook, putting the team on their back and getting this team to multiple wins because that's what they've done the last couple of years now. What holds me back with the Bills is their defense, and this is something we've said the last couple years with them. It just feels like this team has no real X factor when you look at them defensively. Again, they have solid players here and there throughout the defense. I'm not saying that everyone on that defense is trash. It's just that when you look at that defense and you compare them to some of the best units like Houston, Philadelphia, Denver, Seattle, they're not comparing to any of those defenses. So imagine again if you had Josh Allen and James Cook and paired them with, one of those defenses I just stated. The Bills would be a tier 1 team, in my opinion, just because of the talent on the offensive side combined with the defense, but we just have to see it. So that's where I'm at with the Bills. I think the Bills can be good again. It's obviously they've been able to do this the last few years. It's really just the fact that can the defense help them out and can Moore add a few more wrinkles to this offense so Josh Allen doesn't feel like he has to be, literally Superman every week just for them to get a win. Next, I have the Houston Texans. Look, this team had one of, if not the best defenses in the league last year, and I expect that to continue. D'Amico Ryans is still there calling plays, and again, all these guys are just in one more year in the system with that team. So I just expect that this defense is going to continue doing what they do. I mean, I don't see why they would regress heading into 2026. I can make this short and sweet. My biggest question for the Houston Texans is the offense, specifically Stroud. Stroud has not been the guy that we've wanted him to be these last couple years. Really, it's kind of crazy to say his rookie season so far has been his peak. And again, what we saw down the stretch from Stroud, specifically in the playoffs, that New England game, it's going to be hard for me to forget that game because that was just so bad. And it really felt like last year Houston could actually go on a potential Super Bowl run if Stroud just knew that, he didn't need to play hero ball, but yet again, he did play hero ball. So that really is what threw Houston off. But they did just end up trading for Kayshon Boutte literally yesterday, so they add to that wide receiver room. They get Montgomery as well as a new starting running back. They've added a little bit to that offensive line as well. So I do think the offense will take a step forward. But again, is it enough to put them in contention? I'm just not there yet. Again, this is a team that maybe we make this video in a few months when the season's gone on that I could see 100% ascending up to maybe tier 3, tier 2 if they take those offensive strides. But so far, it's really, again, the offense that's holding me back from fully believing in this team as being a contender. Defensively, though, they should get him to the playoffs. And again, Stroud isn't a trash quarterback. He just hasn't been the guy that we've expected, and that's why people are down on him. Should be enough to go to the playoffs. Again, is it enough, though, with these, a few additions in the offseason to get them over the hump and get into these higher tiers and actually be a Super Bowl contender? Staying in the AFC South, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, this team overperformed last year. I mean, 13 wins is just incredible. Did anyone expect that from the Jags last year? And it looks like Liam Cohen has finally figured out Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback. Thank God. I mean, I've always, had a soft spot for T-Law because I've liked him a lot in college. But seeing him finally put it together at the end of last year, it really was special. Again, also with that defense, they were just a really fun team to watch. And it's honestly shocking to me that they did lose to the Bills in the first week. But regardless, that is last year. Let's focus on this year now. I like a lot of what this team has. I just have questions really when it comes from a personnel standpoint. First off, I expect this team to regress. There's no way that they are going to win 13 games again. I just don't see it. That's not happening. But where I see the potential regression is really in a few ways. Number one, ETN has now left for the Saints, so the running back room is by far not as good as it was last year. And yes, Parker Washington has emerged as a budding player for this, wide receiver group. But at the same time, we're still relying on BTJ to kind of, put in the performance that we saw from his rookie year. Myers is a solid wide receiver 3 as well. I like what they have as Strange. But are these receivers enough to get, consistent scoring from this offense? Yes, Cohen is a great play caller, and he does have a fantastic scheme. But is it enough to be reliable over a 17-game season? We have to see. Defensively, they also lost Devin Lloyd. And again, they're a solid unit defensively. They have a few stars. But again, losing Lloyd, who had, I would say, a borderline breakout season last year, but it just doesn't feel like they have a lot of those X factors on defense. I like their defensive line, but secondary-wise, I have questions. Again, we'll see what happens with Travis Hunter. Like, is he going to, I know he's supposed to play corner this year, but are they going to try to still mix him in as a receiver? Like, is that going to impact his play? I just have questions. And again, everything shows us that there's almost no way that this team wins 13 games like last year, so I'm expecting regression regardless, but I don't see this team as a contender. 100% could see them making the playoffs, though. They are not a contender in my opinion. And the last two teams I have in this tier are the Lions and the Bears. I'm actually kind of almost combining them together because I'm so on the fence of where I see either of these teams doing. Like, I have either of these teams winning the division, so I thought I'd just kind of lump them together. First, let's start with the Lions. The Lions are looking to bounce back. Last year was the year from hell. You lose Ben Johnson. The offensive line was just not it last year. The offense in general was just not it. I mean, you fire your OC. I think in the middle of the season, or they demoted him as one of the two. But I like what the Lions have going this year, more from the fact of, number one, I don't see the offense being just as bad as it was last year. I almost see that not happening. There's just no way. And they also addressed that in the draft in the first round. But when you look at it just from a larger picture perspective, this team is going to get a substantially easier schedule than they had last year. You went from a first place schedule to a third place, I think. I mean, I'm almost certain that they finished either in third or fourth place. Regardless, the schedule is going to be a lot easier this year. It's going to be a lot easier this year. And then again, I trust the staff from what the Lions have, but what's really holding me back to make this team a contender from what we saw from the last couple of years was, again, it's the team's defense and overall just the injuries. Defensively, I love what Hutch is doing on the D-line, but other than that, not a ton is really scaring me there. Yes, I like Campbell at linebacker, but still, when you look at the rest of the team, I'm not in love with that secondary. Yes, Branch and Joseph are solid players, but those guys can't stay healthy. And then again, it's just these injuries, just injuries in general, whether it was a few injuries last year on the offense when it came to the offensive line, or as we know, this team gets so banged up for some reason defensively over the last few years now. It's just really, really hard to trust. And when I look at them from an overall personnel standpoint, I think they're a team that can score points, but I really, really do question if they can get it done defensively. So I'm going to be having them in tier 4, but that's just where I have them. I think they can win the division, but I don't have them being Super Bowl contenders. Next, I have the Chicago Bears. It's another year of the Bears offense in, Ben Johnson's system. A second year, I expect Caleb Williams to take a step forward, but again, I have my questions. First off, is this wide receiver room enough to get it done? Yes, Rome Odunze is a talented player, same as Luther Burden, but they are young. That's a lot to ask out of those guys. Even same for Colston Levin. Like, I think he'll be fine, but still, he's only a second-year player you're relying on a lot. And when you come to the defense, not in love with that defensive line. There's a few guys I like in the secondary, but there's just not a ton that stands out with that team. And on top of it, they now are going to have to show us that they can actually win a little bit more convincingly. The Bears won so many one-score games last year. I mean, we all remember it. It was super fun to watch. But when I look at you and try to, take the emotion out of it, a team that usually wins a lot of one-score games, that doesn't always translate to success. So, again, I want to see more consistency from the Bears. I think the Bears maybe even could win a playoff game this year, but I still do not think that they are in that class yet when you look at the rest of the NFC. Now we're on our way to Tier 3. Tier 3 are teams that I think are personally just better than Tier 4 teams, but they still have their clear questions, which again is what's holding me back. Just wanted to present that before we get into it. First, we have my Philadelphia Eagles. I had them in the Tier 3. Look, there's a lot to be excited about this season, but again, there's also a lot of questions. The Eagles lose A.J. Brown, so you already are taking a hit when it comes to the wide receiver room. But in a way, I think this could be a positive, not from a personnel standpoint, but just mentally, you don't have to deal with that anymore. You have a new play caller with Sean Mannion, which again, everything I'm hearing is it's supposed to be more of a modern day offense, more play action, more outside zone type of runs, more attacking the middle of the field. But again, I don't know what that's actually going to look like. This is all, what I'm hearing. And then, of course, I have my questions when it comes just to the receiver room in general. I mean, look, yes, you lose A.J. Brown and you replace him with Mekhi Lemon, but Mekhi Lemon has not even really played with the team yet. Yes, he's practiced here and there, but he's hurt his hamstring, has been losing out on quality reps. And then when you look at the rest of the wide receiver depth, there's a lot of names there, but are these guys really going to be able to make plays consistently other than Devontae Smith? I mean, you have a Wicks, been hearing good things about him in camp, but again, it's just camp. Hollywood Brown, he's kind of washed at this point. Like, I just have my questions When we get to the defense, I don't really question much there. I love what this defense is providing. There's maybe some questions when it comes to the pass rush, but there's a lot of talent here still that I think is going to be good enough to get them where they need to be. But I think the Eagles do end up winning the division this year. I think it can be done. But I just have a few more questions when it comes to the offensive side of this team, and I just don't know if it's going to be able to get them fully over the hump into contender status. Next, we have the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have all the makings of a contender. I just have to see it first because there's so many questions when it comes to the coaching staff. You have a new head coach with Jesse Minter who has to, number one, build the culture and really work on trying to improve this defense from last year, which took a hit. And then you have Declan Doyle, who's your new offensive coordinator that you're hoping is going to have some rapport with, number one, just play calling, but specifically Lamar Jackson, how he wants this offense to function. And then you're relying just a lot on, again, can Lamar stay healthy? I think he can, but he's had injuries in his past. And number two, I say it every year, and I finally stopped saying it, but just for the argument's sake, can we rely on Derrick Henry at, 33 years old? At some point, Father Time is going to knock. I don't know if this is going to be the year, but it might be the time that if he finally gets a real injury, and all of a sudden you're down Derrick Henry. I do think that the Ravens win the division. I'm going to trust that this culture that's been built for over 20 years is going to still be there. There's a ton of talented players there, and maybe Minter even gives them that new head coach, kind of that new head coach swag in a way. But at the same time, I really just want to know, what is this actually going to look like? I think that they could easily be a tier 2 team, but right now they're a tier 3 team for me. I just have to see it on the field. Next, we have the New England Patriots, the team that was just representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. The Patriots end up getting A.J. Brown, a massive move. They finally get a number one receiver, which is a massive, massive get for Drake May while he's still on his rookie contract. Absolutely love that move. I think New England will be good this year. Again, I expect them to take a few steps forward offensively. It's another year for May in the system with McDaniels and now obviously A.J. Brown. But I just have my questions about a few things, specifically the offensive line. Will Campbell be able to step up in these big moments? I mean, he was getting exposed in the playoffs last year, and that's something you really can't write off until we see improvement. Will they be able to handle a schedule that's more difficult? And that's no slight at the Patriots. It's just the facts. They had the easiest schedule in all the NFL last year. You're not getting that this year. There's almost no way that it's going to be as easy as a ride as they had as last season. And will there be any type of Super Bowl hangover / Mike Vrabel, fallout? Like that was a really weird situation. Plus them also coming off of the Super Bowl loss. I just feel like there's a lot of potential negativity that could come to this team if they don't start hot. And that's something I'm going to be watching. So I'm expecting a slight regression from the Pats. I still think they're going to be a really good team. I just don't think that they're going to be in that upper echelon of contenders. I honestly think that last year they probably peaked a little higher than they really should have by getting to the Super Bowl. But I expect this team to be a playoff contender, maybe win a playoff game. I just don't see it, though, for going to the Super Bowl this season. Last is everyone's favorite what-if team, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers made a massive move by getting Mike McDaniel as their new OC. He's going to improve the play calling. He's going to improve the run game. He's going to improve the blocking when it comes to the running side of the sport. I just think that he's going to really, really open up this offense, specifically with Hampton. He's even been talking about Mitchell a little bit. I'm very excited to see what they do offensively. And I really want to see what he does with Herbert as well. I mean, again, we saw what he did in Miami, and Herbert, respectfully to Tua, is a way better quarterback than what we saw from him all of his time in Miami. So I think that he's going to trust Herbert more. Herbert's been able to show that he can make those throws, and he just has so much more arm strength when it comes to Tua. I mean, Tua has probably the weakest arm in the NFL. What makes me question this team, though, is, again, the offensive line, more really just injuries. I mean, there were serious injuries last year to both the tackles last season, and now all of a sudden the new center that they just signed just tore his ACL. So it's not ending. So I have my questions. Again, can this team stay healthy? I feel like every single year dating back, I mean, this is like a 5+ year thing at this point. The Chargers always have injury problems. It just always bites them. And then defensively, I expect them to still be a great team, but Jesse Minter left as your play caller, and that's some really real stuff. Like this defense was very, very good last year. I feel like they kind of got undershadowed a little bit just because there were so many good defenses last season, but Minter did a great job with them. And again, I just expect there to maybe be a slight regression compared to last season just because he is that good of a defensive coordinator. I'm not sure the Chargers win their division just because it is very stacked, but I 100% think if things click offensively and the defense can stay up to shape, there's no reason that this team shouldn't at least win one playoff game next year. Now on to Tier 2. Tier 2 is for teams that really are Super Bowl contenders. I have very minimal questions about them. Honestly, this video kind of got a little not thrown off, but tier 1 was only created for a specific team, which you guys all know who it is if you follow this league. But tier 2 is nothing to be, it's not a slight at all. It's teams that I think really have a chance to at least compete for a Super Bowl, and there's just minimal questions I have about them. First, let's start with the Seattle Seahawks, the Super Bowl champions. Seattle's looking to run it back. Yes, they lost a few key additions in the offseason, like K9 to the Chiefs. You lose a few defensive signings as well, defensive players to free agency. And, of course, you lose Kubiak as your old offensive coordinator to the Raiders as a head coach. But still, I think the team has the continuity. Overall, yes, you lost some guys on defense, like I said, but you didn't lose a ton of them. And you're bringing back almost this entire offense. It's another year of JSN with Darnold, building more rapport. It's another year of this defense being able to make plays. Again, they retained all of the key guys that they really, really needed. I just don't see how this team isn't at least contending for the Super Bowl next year. And again, I'll say the same thing as I said for the Patriots. Maybe there will be some Super Bowl hangover stuff because, again, anytime people want to dispute this, you look at all the teams that won a Super Bowl and then you look at them the next season. It's really, really hard. We really only saw that with like the Chiefs and the Patriots. It's just hard to do that. There's always some type of regression. So I'm expecting some regression with this team, but 100% when you look at them on paper, there is no reason why the Seattle Seahawks should not at least be real players in the NFC. I mean, there is really only one other team competing with them. And the only AFC team I have in Tier 2 are the Denver Broncos. Look, if Bo Nix stays healthy in the playoffs last year, we could have really seen Seattle play the Denver Broncos instead of the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. And I expect a lot out of this team. I mean, they really did not lose many key free agents other than one guy on the D-line, but I really love what they have. You have one of the best offensive lines in football. You have a healthy Bo Nix this season. You just traded for Jalen Waddle in the offseason as well, which only is making that wide receiver room better, which is one of the few questions I had about this team. And defensively, this team is still extremely, extremely sound. You have a fantastic secondary. You have an elite defensive line. I don't see why the Denver Broncos would take a step back next year. I expect Denver to be, if Bo Nix stays healthy and they don't have any freak incidents this year, I could see them 100% going to the Super Bowl just because there's still so many questions I have about AFC teams. There's really not a lot of questions I have about the Denver Broncos. Now on to Tier 1, and I alluded to this already throughout the video. Tier 1 is a separate tier for one team only, and it really might just be a this year type of situation. It's the Los Angeles Rams. This shouldn't come as a shock. This team, on paper, is the most stacked team in the NFL. They had only two real weaknesses last season, which was special teams and their secondary. I can't speak on special teams and how they're going to be looking this year because I'm not that into the weeds when it comes to that type of stuff in the NFL. But secondary-wise, yeah, they addressed it. They got Trent McDuffie, a star corner from the Chiefs. They traded for him. And then they get his running mate, Jalen Watson, another solid corner from the Chiefs. And all of a sudden, you have two studs at cornerback. And then the biggest move of the entire offseason was getting Myles Garrett, the best pass rusher in the NFL. Yes, you trade Jared Verse, but still, you get the best pass rusher in the NFL. You team him up with that defense, which is already also a solid defensive line as well. What is there not to like on paper? Offensively, you still have Matt Stafford coming off of an MVP season. You have Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. You have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. You have McVay, who is still calling plays. I really am struggling to find many flaws with this team. Yes, there's maybe some injury concerns on if Stafford can stay healthy. Is Puka going to be able to lock in when it comes to more of the off-the-field issues? But regardless, when you look at it on paper, the Los Angeles Rams are 100% the number one team going into this season. There's no argument against it. Let me know what you guys think of this video, though. These are the teams that I have in the tiers. Would you want to move up some of these teams? Would you want to move some of these teams down? Did I straight up just miss a team that should have been included in this video? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Drop your thoughts down below in the comments. And again, if you made this far in the video, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a like and even feel free to subscribe because we're going to be continuing to make videos like this all NFL season. And I cover a bunch of other sports as well. So feel free to be on the lookout for all that stuff. But again, I really appreciate if you guys made it this far because this was a long, long video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.